everybody. Driving preventative health care in Northwest Arkansas for the last 30 years, Dr. Masters and APHR wear their responsibility proudly. They have consistently been the go-to clinic for public health projects, industrial ergonomic education, and corporate wellness programs. APHR provides total family care for fast pain relief for each of their patients and happily do their part for the better good of Northwest Arkansas. Arkansas Physical Health and Rehab is big enough to know how and small enough to know you. In 2018, Dr. Masters and APHR celebrated their 30th year, and nothing says local like 30 years. So Dr. Masters, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, well, I really appreciate it. I am going to try to monitor anybody raising their hand and so on, but if you can give me the heads up on that as well, that would be super. I would appreciate it.
We can do that.
We are in a situation where there are more and more assaults on our body and brain every year. It is kind of scary, the things that they add to our food and we breathe in our air and drink in our water, and all those things kind of add up to create quite a toll on brain function. And this is reflected in the increased incidence of conditions like Alzheimer's disease and that sort of thing. On top of this, people are living longer, which is great. However, living longer isn't all that great if you aren't functioning well during that. So you want to do everything you can to stay as functional as possible for as long as possible. And that's what this presentation is all about. We're going to talk about habits and nutrition and different treatments, as well as a lot of stuff you can do at home to help increase your brain power and make sure that you don't lose what you have. But it is not something that is irreversible. We're definitely in a situation where brain power is something that can be restored. They used to not think that, but it definitely can be restored. So we're going to talk about a lot of different ways to do that. I really appreciate the super introduction. I'm going to just kind of go into a little bit of history at our office. I'm a third-generation chiropractor. I'm the 9th chiropractor in Master's family, and we have chiropractors from Hawaii all the way to Florida and up to Massachusetts. I happen to be right in the middle of the country, but there are Master's chiropractors all over the place. So we have a long history of being in not only chiropractic, but kind of alternative health care.
We talked about the monitoring, the dialing. He knows what's going on. This one has a broken wire between here and this side. So I'm going to have to get another guy out here, and we'll schedule it probably next week.
Okay.
So our main concern is the monitoring.
Right. Excuse me, Dr. Masters. Guys, if you're going to have a conversation with the telephone, please mute your mic.
Okay, okay.
So just let you know.
Okay. Okay. Are you going to?
I'm going to plug that back up.
Okay.
So it's all the way it works.
Good. Thank you.
Guys, whoever we've got in the background working on a home issue, if you guys don't mind muting your mic or putting the phone down for a minute so we can carry on.
I work with an amazing group of doctors and staff as well. Shannon, who I'm going to talk about here in a second, has been with me for 24 years, a long, long time. And over that period of time, she has acquired a lot of knowledge, so she might actually chime in a little bit here. But our doctors, we have doctors who've been in practice almost as long as I have. We have a nurse practitioner. We're going to be going into a lot of this sort of thing. That got upside down, but anyway, Shannon's my business director. As I said, she's been with me 24 of my 32 years. Over that period of time, she's acquired quite a bit of knowledge and is very helpful in regards to chiming in sometimes as we go along. So, as you're going forward, what is going to be most important as you age? Brain function, people think of like memory, but that definitely is not the only thing that your brain does. If you had all your memories but couldn't get around or carry on any brain functions, it would still make life not very worth living for sure. The brain controls motor function, getting up and down, nerve messages, hormone balancing. It basically takes care of every single thing that your body does. So it is obviously vital if you want to be healthy. And everyday life doesn't have to be a challenge. There's lots of ways that you can keep your brain as healthy as possible. There's lots of easy steps that we're going to be talking about. And if you find yourself in a situation where you need more help, I have a loved one who is starting to show signs of dementia or is Alzheimer's, that's the time when you might need to give us a call and bring somebody into the office for a more in-depth evaluation. Couple of things that you can do that are really, really powerful, and that is challenge the brain. Your brain is just like a muscle. If you sit on the couch and you don't exercise, your muscles are going to waste away, and the brain is kind of the same thing. If you sit on the couch and you don't challenge your brain at all, your brain function is going to waste away. You've heard of use it or lose it, and that goes for your entire body, including the brain. You can do things like switch to non-dominant hand with routine activities like brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, writing, drawing, that sort of thing. Most people are right-handed. If you are, then doing things with your left hand isn't necessarily something that comes naturally to you. Your brain is used to doing things with your right hand, and if you switch that up, it uses an entire part of your brain that you may not be familiar with. You can do lots of things this way. As I said, brushing your teeth, being in a situation where you learn to tie your shoes with the other side. And I know you use two hands to tie your shoes, but one hand always does the same thing. Your hands aren't responsible for tying your shoes or brushing your teeth. It's the neurology behind it that gets into a pattern. And these patterns serve us, they really do. When you were 5 years old and you had to learn to tie your shoes, it was this huge ordeal and you couldn't do it and it might have been frustrating. But once you learn to tie your shoes, and you can do it with your eyes closed and you're practically half asleep when that's going on, because the neurology, the nerves have fired in that way so often it becomes a pattern for your brain. And like I said, these patterns serve us. They're great. They're super to have because we don't have to relearn everything every day. But sometimes it is very valuable for us to learn things that are new. This makes parts of your brain work that aren't really accustomed to it. A couple other things that you can do is use your other hand when you're using the mouse on your computer. For an extra challenge, try buttoning your shirt one-handed. That is actually really very difficult and creates a lot of brain function with your fingers. These little kind of changes keep your brain working and keep it active, just like exercising a muscle. Improving your electromagnetics. I had planned to have a thing I was going to write on. I might try that, and I'm a little scared to try anything new with this Blackboard system because I am not positive I'm going to be able to get back to where I was. But your nerves. Let me see what. No, I can't seem to figure it out. That's okay, no problem. All the cells in your body have a electromagnetic charge across the cell membrane, just like a battery does. It's kind of an electrical potential that's across the cell membrane, and this is one of the ways that your cells do work. they need this electrical charge, and when the cell discharges, then some type of work is done. And if that cell is a muscle cell, then contraction occurs. If that cell is a nerve cell, then the nerve fires. And if your cells don't have good electromagnetics, in other words, the cell membrane doesn't have enough of a charge, it can't do its job properly. When you improve your electromagnetics, it improves everything that that cell does. I don't know if you remember when you were a kid and you ran around outside and you're barefoot and you had a lot of energy and everything was great, you know. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, and it wasn't only because you were younger. There's a thing called grounding or earthing, and basically you walk around or lay on the ground or on the grass or the dirt or the sand, and you do that basically and make contact with the dirt. It doesn't seem to work nearly as well through concrete. It certainly doesn't work through carpet and that sort of thing. You have to kind of get out, and it doesn't work as well through shoes, it doesn't seem. They've done a number of studies on this. You have to get out and actually kind of walk around barefoot in the grass or on the dirt. And there's a number of reasons for this, and they're still speculating on some of them. They feel like the polar system, the north and south and that sort of thing that our Earth has, is caused by the magma in the Earth's core, but other things contribute to this electromagnetic field as well, including lightning strikes around the world, that sort of thing. They kind of charge up the Earth, and as you ground by walking around or laying on the ground, you actually receive some of this electromagnetics into your body, and it helps your cells function better. Some other things that you can do to make sure that that occurs is having enough minerals in your body. And when I say minerals, many people think of like calcium and magnesium, and those are very, very important. They're macro minerals. They're big minerals that your body needs a ton of, but there are trace minerals, minerals you only need a trace amount of, that are just as vital, but you just don't need as many. But when you have minerals, minerals conduct electricity. You can't conduct electricity through distilled water because there's no minerals to conduct it through. The minerals in the water what conduct the electricity. So you need to make sure that you have enough minerals in your body for your electromagnetics to be in good shape. Making sure that you're hydrated is also very important. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. And then reducing exposure to negative electromagnetics. We're all sitting in front of computers right now, and you may be under fluorescent lights, and you may have a cell phone in your pocket, and all of those things have been shown to have a detrimental effect on the electromagnetics of your body. And there's nothing more electrically active in your body than your brain. Very close second is the heart, but your brain is the most electromagnetically active. So it's very, very important that you improve the electromagnetics in your body. Once they become bad enough to be in a situation where they really start to affect your body, then you may need what's called pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And this is a therapy that we do at the office. It's a big machine, and it increases the battery charge of all the cells in your body. It works extremely well. And actually, the person who invented this and received the first patent on this type of machine was Tesla, way back in the 1800s. The guy was an electromagnetic genius, really, and discovered many, many things. But this is one of the things that he got a patent on. And it's been around for that long, and it's been studied for that long, and they found that it helps basically every function in the body. They've done studies on depression with this, and there's actually a medical clinic here in town that offers this same therapy for just solely for depression. But it helps brain function, it decreases pain, it helps improve strength, it improves stamina, it just makes everything work better. And if your brain is not working well, it can make a big difference. It's kind of like having a drained battery, and it recharges the batteries of your cells. Change of scenery is another one. And you can do this in many, many different ways. You know, rearrange a room is a great way to do that. You kind of remap your visual and spatial networks of your brain. When you move the couch to another side of the room, you change the bed to another side of your bedroom, you rearrange where you have to go to get around. This will make your brain work harder at moving around and that sort of thing. And this just makes it exercise the brain, just like we talked about previously. Even simple things like moving the wastebasket to a new location can alter your motor pathways. One of the best ways to do this is to actually get out of the house. We talked about rearranging the inside of your house, but getting out of the house can make a huge, huge difference and stimulates your brain from a lot of experiences that aren't something you experience on a typical daily basis. Go out and have an adventure, travel, get away, take a trip, but you don't even have to go that far. You know, we have lots of trails here in Northwest Arkansas, and like Lake Fayetteville, if you go around that trail, many people walk around Lake Fayetteville on a regular basis, but instead of walking on the cement trail, try walking on the dirt trail. And there's lots of roots and rocks, and the ground is much more unstable, and elevation changes occur on a regular basis. Well, all of these things make your brain work much, much harder. It has to pay attention to the ground so you don't trip over things. You have to watch for changes in elevation, going up and down little hills and little ruts and that sort of thing in the pathway. This has been shown to really, really help your brain just basically work a lot harder instead of just walking along on pavement or something along those lines. It can be an adventure all by itself. Learning sign language can make a huge difference as well. Learning to spell using the manual alphabet is just an entire new learning experience, and it's something that most people don't do. But this not only makes you use your motor cortex, you've got to move your hands in different positions, but it also uses your visual cortex at the same time, because usually you're having a conversation with somebody in this way, and you have to actually look at what their hands are doing and then interpret that into letters. And then that is just a huge amount of extra work for your brain, and that's exercise for the brain. There's 26 different hand positions that go along with the manual alphabet, and learning those can be a real challenge, but it can also be very gratifying too. Couples that learn sign language together, they've found it not only increases brain function, but also can increase emotional and physical intimacy as well. So it can be a real challenge to the brain to learn that, but it's something that is widely available and can be done on a phone app, or you can do it online, that sort of thing. And I don't know if anybody's watching the governor when he's talking about COVID-19 here lately on his regular briefings, but there's always a fellow there that does sign language. So, you know, that's just another added benefit of that. Do it with a blindfold. Man, taking your eyes out of the equation can make a huge, huge difference. It really can. If you do activities that you're familiar with, try doing those same activities without using your eyes, like sorting things. Sorting coins is something that, you know, pennies and dimes and nickels and quarters all feel different, and sorting them into different piles can make your brain really get in touch with your hands more. It is really amazing, the body's ability. They did a study that when you take a blindfold and put it on for just 90 minutes, your hearing ability actually is enhanced at that point. It doesn't take very long, and your body will compensate for what it doesn't have. Sorry, somebody just called me. I'm distracted here. Give me a second. Another thing that you can do is meditation. Meditation is something that sounds like woohoo and yoga and maybe Buddhism or something like that, but it doesn't have to be anything like that. Just being mindful of your inner voice and blocking out the outside world, toning down your nervous system can make a big difference in regards to what your brain pays attention to. Meditation is just simply the act of sitting quietly and being content in the moment and not necessarily focusing on any particular thing. Doing puzzles. I don't know if anybody does puzzles, but this is something that can make a big difference. Crosswords are great. Sudoku is great. But puzzles really seem to incorporate a lot of different things. They incorporate your spatial interaction, your spatial intelligence. You feel what the puzzle pieces, where they should go and place them in different places. But then you also, oh, I don't know where that puzzle piece goes. So you set it aside for a moment and you have to look at the picture again and then remember that puzzle piece goes or looks just like that you just saw on the box. Doing a puzzle can be a serious brain activity, and this is something that you can do with other family members, your kids, your grandkids, that sort of thing, and not only helps them to improve their brain function, but also is a situation where it helps you because it can be a real brain teaser, especially if you get one that is has a lot of puzzle pieces and has a lot of different colors and is harder to figure out. Jigsaw puzzles are especially good for improving short-term memory as well. You have to remember what the puzzle pieces look like and shapes and colors and kind of put that into a bigger picture so you can get the puzzle done. It really can be a great brain activity. Sharing story time is another one. Reading all by itself, just reading to yourself, not out loud, has lots of benefits to it. But they've found that when you start to read aloud with maybe a friend or a loved one, or maybe you go to the library and donate your time reading to children or something like that, it takes reading and also you're interacting both the right and the left side of your brain. Reading silently activates a small part of your brain, but when you read out loud, it activates part of your brain that deals with the mouth. And if you're reading to someone else, you're watching how they're responding to what you say. There's just, it really expands what the brain does. They did a study at Stanford University where people read passages from Jane Austen while doing an MRI, and it indicated that different types of reading exercises different parts of the brain. As you get older, another study suggests reading might really help slow down or even halt cognitive decline, and really that's what this whole presentation is about. So reading is something that is very good for you, and if you read something you're not familiar with, you'll be learning new activities and new things. It just can be very good for the brain. It really can. Smells. Smell is a fascinating scent. It really is. Smells are one of those things that can bring back memory. In your body, you've got a lot of different things that connect directly to the brain, and these are called cranial nerves. Your eyes connect directly to your brain. Your ear connects directly to your brain. There's many other ones. Some of the facial nerves connect directly to your brain. But one of the things that, and it's the only one that connects directly to the limbic system of the brain, is your smell. It is amazing how when you smell something, you can feel nostalgic for something that occurred in the past. Oh, I smelled that smell and it brought back memory of my mother cooking cookies or my grandmother baking pie or something along those lines. if you listen to music while you burn scented candles, it kind of allows several different parts of the brain to connect at the same time. And the more parts of your brain you get to work at once, the better off things are going to be. Some essential oils that have been shown to help dramatically improve brain function are rosemary and lavender, frankincense, cedar is another one. They've also shown basil is one that the smell that can help improve brain function. There's many different ones. And essential oils are a big kind of thing that a lot of people have in their house now because they have so many beneficial effects. It can really be used for many different things, but these are some that help improve brain function. Taste is another one. Back in the day, they used to believe that nerves didn't improve or recover or multiply after you went through puberty. But now they know that that is not the case at all. Nerves are capable of reforming new connections, which is basically learning new things, whether that's learning cognitively or you're learning how to do new things with your hands or new exercise, new activities, that sort of thing. But certain areas of the brain also increase the actual number of brain cells can divide and improve and increase and that sort of thing. It's pretty amazing. It really, really is. One of the main drivers of this brain improvement, this brain healing, is called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's a growth hormone that helps the brain basically make new brain cells. It makes the brain improve and increase and enhance its activity and that sort of thing. Curcumin is one of the things that helps this occur. And BDNF, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is something that is increased when you eat curcumin-based foods or turmeric-based foods, which this is anytime you have curry. Curry has a lot of that in there. So Indian foods, Asian foods, and curry dishes, that sort of thing can make a big difference in regards to brain function. Another thing that, and you can also take a supplement that has curcumin in it as well. Another thing that they've shown that can really help is blueberries. Focusing your sense of smell and taste. Blueberries contain a compound that helps bridge the communication gap between aging nerve cells as well. So make your food your medicine. So it is really something that you can, if you study it, it's amazing how much you can turn your food into things that help your brain function better. We'll talk about that more here in just a second. Report the news or tell a story. Describing things to others, telling them what happened, is an excellent way to improve your visual memory. When you describe things to others, you're actually having to remember them, and you see that usually if it's something that occurred or you read it. This helps you in many ways. It helps, basically your brain has to interpret visual reading into auditory explanations that you give to other people. It is asking your brain to kind of do somersaults. It really is taking one form of communication and turning it into another form of communication, and it can be a challenge for the brain to do that. We've all described things to people or told things to people, and they've been like, oh, what? I don't understand. And then you have to describe it in more detail or give them a different analogy about the same thing, and then they understand it. And this requires you to actively be participating in conversation with the brain. Make it a goal to notice one thing every day and then tell somebody about it later. This is a great way to improve your attention to what's going on around you, but then also your memory skills as well. It will also open your eyes to things that you never really noticed before, things that are details that you may not have even paid attention to, and then give you the opportunity to share your discovery with another person. This also gives you a very good reason to go out and do things that are worthy of telling other people about. You know, that big fish that you caught, or that great trip that you took, or that excellent restaurant that you went to, or that great experience that you had. So, you know, be in a situation where you make your life into a newsworthy event to tell other people about it, whether that's auditory or you might tell people on Facebook or whatever. Either way, you're having to take it from one form of memory and kind of turn it into another form. Take a walk. We kind of talked about this here a little bit earlier, but older adults who start a regular walking program improve significantly on their tests that they did on levels of high executive functioning, like planning, scheduling, task coordination, this sort of thing. The things that really, you know, when you get older, they say, oh, yeah, he or she is still really sharp. Those are what they're talking about, those executive functions of your brain. Aerobic exercise really raises the level of chemicals in the brain called the neurotrophic factors, the brain-derived neurotrophic factors that we talked about earlier. Exercise is so good for you. They've never done studies that show, oh yeah, exercise is really something you should be avoiding. It's really not that way at all. Exercise is so good for you. And there's many different types of exercise. You can kind of choose the exercise that you like the best. One of the things that has been shown to be most effective is what's called HIIT exercise, or high intensity interval training. And this is something that you can look up on the internet, but a walking program is a great time to implement high intensity interval training. And essentially what you do with this is you walk maybe at your normal pace and you can do this with the number of steps, or you can do it with time. You can set a timer on your phone or something along those lines. But you can walk, say, for 5 minutes at a normal pace, and then walk for 1 minute at as fast as you can safely go. And this, at the end of 1 minute, you may be like, whew, you know, whoa, that was hard, and you may check and see if your pulse rate has gone up. You may notice that you're breathing a little bit harder, and then you go back to your normal activity level. And this is what's called high intensity interval training, where at intervals, you increase the intensity of your workout. So you go along and you walk for a while, and then walk very quickly for about 1 minute, and then go back to 5 minutes of your normal pace, and then another minute of high intensity, and then you go back to your normal pace. And the nice thing about doing it in a timed manner is, say you set aside 20 minutes for exercise, or 30 minutes, or whatever it is, it doesn't take any more time, any more minutes. But you get a significantly better workout. It's really pretty amazing how much of an improved workout there is when you incorporate this. And you can do this with practically any type of exercise. You can do it when you're lifting weights. You can do it with swimming. You can do it with dancing, where I'm going to do, you know, 2 songs of a waltz and then 1 song of the jitterbug, or whatever it is. It really is something that you can incorporate into almost any type of exercise program to help you get a lot more out of that. Strengthening muscles is another thing that can be very important. I mean, this is so vital. You know, when you get older, people don't think, for the most part, and I don't want to generalize too much, but you know, they're not like, oh, I got to go out and run a mile. When you're 80 years old, a lot of people, their big focus is, oh, I got to make sure that I don't fall, or I've got to make sure that I can get up off the toilet, or get up out of the chair, or get in and out of the car, or whatever it is. And making sure that you have strength through a weight training program not only helps brain function, but they have done studies that show if you have higher strength in your legs, you will live a longer life. If you have higher leg strength, you'll be less likely to break a hip. There are so many benefits. You'll have increased bone density. And you know, when you go on a trip, you'll be able to put your suitcase up in the overhead bin, or you'll be able to lift your grandchild, or you'll be able to continue enjoying those things that you like gardening or kayaking, or you'll still be able to get up the stairs to go to bed, that sort of thing. Just making sure that you're improving strength can make a big, big difference in regards to how you live your life, not only from a brain function standpoint, from just a function standpoint in general. Don't wait. I had a guy come to me yesterday who he'd been a long-term patient, but I tend to only see him when he's in a lot of pain. His back hurts or something like that. But his daughter told him to come in to me, and I just saw him yesterday, and she noticed that he's having a little bit of unsteadiness, and then he tends to walk around with his right arm bent a little bit, and he holds it up in a kind of a bent fashion. And this is one indication that his brain might not be functioning properly. And he said to me, he says, well, I don't know what she expects. I'm 72 years old. And I said, sure, and that's true. However, you want to take as many steps as you can to put off brain aging as long as possible. So when he's 82, he's not going to be having all sorts of problems. And we did a number of tests on him, and I actually found a problem with his right cerebellum, which is a part of the brain that is extremely important. It has to do with coordinated muscle movement and keeping his balance and that sort of thing. And we got him on some vitamins that are going to help that. But you don't want to wait until you're having a problem to start taking some of these steps. Most people wait until things really get bad before they look into things and do things that are going to make them improve. I tell people to really pay attention to your symptoms. Your symptoms are your body telling you, hey, something is wrong, something needs to be addressed. Like this guy didn't have any problems, the fellow that I was talking about here a second ago. He didn't really have any pain that he needed addressed or anything like that. It wasn't that kind of an issue, but he just walked around with his right arm bent. Well, that's his body saying, hey, something's going on, something's not right. And he could have easily ignored that symptom, and he was wanting to. His daughter was the one that was worried, but she basically nagged him until he came into the office to do something about it. And the more you pay attention to your symptoms and do something early, the less likely you're going to have problems down the road. Another thing that, and this is a little bit unrelated, but related to health in general, many people have these Fitbits or these watches that watch your heart rate and they watch your activity. Those are great because they can give you an early warning sign of what is going on with your body and give you an idea, hey, I've got something going on, I'm going to take some steps, I'm going to do some research on this, or consult with somebody who, your doctor or something along those lines, that might be able to guide you in a way that would get things better. I had a patient who she wears a Fitbit on a regular basis, and for no reason at all, really, her heart rate just went up dramatically and wouldn't stop it. She wasn't walking around or excessively exercising, that sort of thing, and her heart was just pounding. Just her heart rate was very, very high. And we did a number of tests and found that she had a virus in her heart and got her on some things that helped that. We referred her out to have that evaluated a little bit more, but they didn't really find anything other than a high heart rate. And once we got that virus taken care of, she was able to have her heart rate go back down to normal. But she wouldn't have really known that the heart rate was all that high unless she was paying attention to it. And then even some people pay attention to symptoms and they just discount them in their brain. They say something like, well, I'm just getting older, or my dad had this when he was my age, or my mother had this when she was my age, or this just runs in the family. Well, those are great ways to ignore your symptoms, but they're not good ways to improve your health. So don't wait until things get bad before you start taking action. Because the sooner that you take action and pay attention to your health, the better off you're going to be. And you don't have to do everything every day. You just have to do something every day. You just have to pay some attention to it every day. And it will really pay big dividends in the long run. It really, really will. So what else can you do? What are some other things that can make a big difference? Regular chiropractic adjustments correct a lot of interferences to the central nervous system. They've done studies that show it basically reconnects your brain to your body. Maintenance of your spinal health is really, really important, and not only for your back, your spine, and that sort of thing, but also for your brain power throughout the years. I had a patient who came to me, and he's still currently being treated, but he waited essentially until he was horrible. And he is elderly. I think he's maybe 70 or something along those lines. But he brought his MRI into me, and I took a look at it, and it's honestly the worst MRI I'd ever seen. It looked like there were multiple places throughout his entire spine where his nerves were basically being encroached by his bones. His bones were growing into his nerves. And the thing that brought him into me is he lost bowel and bladder control when he was just at home reading one day. And things just stopped working, and he couldn't control his bowel and his bladder anymore, which is a very bad sign. And he went to a number of doctors thinking maybe he needed back surgery or something along those lines. And no, it was so bad that no one would do anything for him. Well, we treated him some, and I'm not going to say he's in great shape, but he definitely has restored his neurological function to his bowel and bladder. And those are brain functions as well. They really are. The Journal of Neuroplasticity, which what that means basically, what does neuroplasticity mean? Neural refers to nerves, which in this case we're talking about brain. Plasticity is the ability of the brain to be what they call plastic. Plastic refers to how pliable it is, how easily it adapts to stress, how easily it adapts to new things, how easily it grows when it needs to, and that sort of thing. So that's the Journal of Neuroplasticity studies this sort of thing. It showed that chiropractic adjustments significantly increase the activity of the brain's prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that has to do with those higher functions that we were talking about earlier, those executive functions. An effect on the function of the prefrontal cortex explains results such as improvement in sensory motor function relevant to fall prevention, improved muscle strength in the lower limbs, lower limb muscles, as well as better pelvic floor control. And this is a quote from that study in the Journal of Neuroplasticity. So getting chiropractic care on a regular basis can make a big, big difference, not only in how your back feels, but how your brain functions as well. So I think that's kind of an exciting finding that was not very old. Breathing. Breathing is so important. I cannot overemphasize how important breathing is. Oxygen is more needed by the brain than any other element and the rest of the body. And you'll know this if you hold your breath for 2 minutes. You'll be in a situation where you really understand how important oxygen is to your whole body. You know, you can go without water for like 24 hours. You can go without food for a long time. But if you try to go without oxygen very long, you're going to know it right away. Long-term minor oxygen depletion has been related to brain health problems. And this can be as something as minor as just not breathing properly or having bad posture that can cause you to breathe more shallowly than you should be. So sit up straight, have good posture, and then I'm going to talk about a couple different types of breaths here in a minute that will help oxygenate your brain. But I'm particularly concerned about this particular subject when it comes to text neck. Text neck you may have heard of, but this is something that a lot of kids and adolescents and even some adults have now, because we spend so much time in front of a computer and in front of a device, and we don't ever really get a full breath into our lungs and allow oxygen to come into the blood and carbon dioxide to get out of the blood. We're really breathing very shallowly, and it is not normal at all. So let's first talk about breath of fire. Breath of fire is a acupuncture, basically an Asian approach to breathing that helps dramatically increase your energy. This is something that you want to watch for, because you can actually do this too much and pass out. So it's something that you want to ease into and pay attention to how you feel. Don't do it for very long. Even just 10 seconds at the beginning is maybe long enough for some people. But basically, you take a deep breath, do it in and out very rapidly, but very deeply as well. So you're breathing quickly in and out, in and out, in and out. So it's and you can hyperventilate that way pretty easily, so you need to be very careful. But this hyperoxygenates your blood and brings oxygen into your blood very quickly. And if you do that for very long, you'll feel a little bit lightheaded, and you can be something that you need to be careful of. So you need to watch that. But when you've done that for even 5 or 10 seconds, once you've kind of recovered from that, you can see, oh, well, my energy level seems to be a little up. My energy seems to be like flowing better through my body. I feel like I've expanded my lungs. Breath of fire can just really give you a lot of short-term energy very quickly. Another one is an oxygenating breath as well. And this one ensures that oxygen is turned over from the blood, or from the lungs to the blood, and then carbon dioxide is turned over from the blood to the lungs and then is exited from your body. So this one, you breathe in quite deeply for 2 count. So you breathe in for 2, you hold it for a count of 4, and then you breathe out for 3 counts. So it's and you do this repeatedly, you'll not feel as likely to be as lightheaded with this, but it can also make you feel more calm. This sort of thing kind of tells your vagus nerve, which is a nerve that goes directly from your brain down to your intestines, to relax and slow down and take it easy. The vagus nerve, they've done studies that show it is very, very affected by how you breathe. The vagus nerve basically has to do with resting and digesting. If you are in a situation where you're anxious or you can't seem to sleep at night, this type of breathing while you're laying in bed can tell your vagus nerve, hey, slow down, take it easy, it's time to rest. So these types of breathing exercises can make a big, big difference in how you feel, as well as your brain function. Eliminate your favorite toxin. Ooh, this is a kind of a touchy subject for some, but toxins love fat. When I'm talking about physical toxins now, and these can come from like fillings in your teeth, particularly the mercury amalgam fillings that they used to use. They can come from our food. There's many chemicals in our food that are toxic. They come from the air that we breathe. They come from the water that we drink. It is really scary how many toxins are in our world. But our body, some of these toxins our body has never seen. You know, there are chemicals, if you read a label on some of the foods that you eat, you'll see chemicals in there that weren't around 50 years ago. So our brains and our bodies don't know what to do with these chemicals. So what we tend to do when we run across something like that, if our liver can't detoxify them, we tend to just store them. We store them in fat, because fat tends to be kind of an inert type of tissue. But one of the things that our body uses fat for is to increase the speed at which nerves can talk to each other in the brain. So there's a lot of fat in your brain, and the brain is approximately about 70% fat. So if you're in a situation where your body's experiencing toxic overload, it can affect the brain particularly badly. Greater recent consumption of artificial sweeteners, which, like I said, are chemicals that weren't even around 50 years ago, have been associated with increased risk of stroke, and a much stronger associated with ischemic problems of the brain, as well as problems with Alzheimer's, brain plasticity issues, that sort of thing. These chemicals, like aspartame, which is the artificial sweetener, monosodium glutamate, we have that listed at MSG, are found in many, many different foods. But these things fool the brain into thinking that things taste better than they do. Now, this helps the company that made them, because people are like, ooh, that's yummy, let's buy some more of that, and let's consume more of that. But in doing that, fooling the brain, they also cause the nerves to fire very, very rapidly. And they have been shown, particularly they did a study on aspartame, and it can cause nerves in your brain to fire so much that they actually wear themselves to death. They will actually kill themselves. There's a very interesting book by Russell Blaylock. He's a medical doctor, fascinating guy. He's a very good author. And it's a book that is called Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills. It's a very good book if anybody wants to pick that up. But he goes into great detail at how these toxins actually cause brain problems. It can be a real big problem. And I hate to burst your bubble, those artificial sweeteners taste really bad, but if you eat a lot of high fructose, it can cause similar problems. High fructose corn syrup in particular, it exacerbates the disruption of brain energy metabolism and brain plasticity. It can really cause a lot of problems. So fructose is really, really bad for the brain as well. It can cause a lot of different neurological disorders. So you need to really try to eliminate your favorite toxin. And then some toxins aren't actually necessarily things that you taste. They are things like watching too much television, or spending too much time on Facebook, or something along those. Oh, somebody asked a question.
What is the name of the book again, please, and the author?
Yes, Russell Blaylock, Blaylock, I think. He's a medical doctor, and the name of the book is Excitotoxins, The Taste That Kills. It's a fascinating book. It's kind of scary to read because of where you'll find all these things. You'll find them in everyday foods that many people have, and this is why. Yeah, flavorings. They're flavorings, food dyes. They have the food manufacturers have figured out that people don't like MSG, and they don't like some of these things being listed as ingredients. So they've actually petitioned the FDA to change their name. So they'll actually change the name of it into artificial flavorings, or what's another one? Yeast extract is another one that is very similar to MSG that they they just changed the name of it. They're hoping to fool the consumer into continuing to buy this stuff. So watch out. The labels aren't as clear as they used to be, and that is by design from these food companies. It's kind of a scary subject that causes lots of problems. That's why I really recommend eating as clean as you possibly can, for sure. Energy in your brain. The brain is the most metabolically active organ in the body. It uses a ton of calories, and it is always, always, always working. It never shuts off. It goes through rest periods, but you're still having brain activity during those periods with sleep and that sort of thing. The brain actually consumes about 20% of our oxygen, even though it only makes up about 7% of our body. So it's actually small, but consumes a huge amount of the oxygen that we take in on a regular basis. But when that much energy is produced, and it needs to be produced or your brain won't function properly, there is always a price that you'll pay for that, because when you produce energy, your body also produces toxins. And these toxic substances are called free radicals. There's many different types of them, but in our bodies have the ability to help get rid of these things. But free radicals are unstable. They bond with molecules inside healthy cells, and they damage tissues and organs like the heart, the joints, the skin, and the brain as well. Free radicals can inhibit the brain's ability to produce neurotransmitters, which are chemicals that help the brain talk to each other. And it can have a big impact on memory, learning, mood, and walking around and having good balance, as well as hand-eye coordination, that sort of thing. So free radicals are something that are very, very important. One of the best ways you can get rid of free radicals is improve your body's production of glutathione. And one of the best ways to improve glutathione production in your body, this is a antioxidant that everyone's body makes. Glutathione production is helped by eating green leafy vegetables. It can be very, very helpful in regards to that. Free radicals pose another big potential problem for the brain, and that is that they promote inflammation. And inflammation is linked. Oh, don't forget to mute your speaker if you're still talking, because I think we're hearing somebody. So free radicals have been shown to produce inflammation, and that is linked to chronic diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, and other types of dementia like Lewy body syndrome and that sort of thing. Another thing that is very, very likely to cause inflammation is lack of omega-3s in your brain, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Nutrition is so, so important. I cannot emphasize it enough. We talked about how important oxygen is, and like I said, you can't live without oxygen for very long, or you're going to have some serious problems. But another one that is so, so important is water. Drinking enough water is vital to bodily function, but particularly brain function. They have shown many people who have dementia type problems like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, that sort of thing, have problems with chronic low level, not excessive, but chronic low level dehydration. They're just not drinking enough water in general. So how much water should a person drink? Take your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2, and that's how many ounces of water that you need to drink every day. Now, say you weigh 200 pounds, you divide that by 2, so that's 100, and that's how many ounces you should be drinking every day. Now, at the beginning, if you're not used to that, that can be quite a task, and it can seem very daunting, and it seems like you're making trips to the bathroom every 5 minutes. And at the beginning, until your body is used to having that much water, that may be the case, but you need to really increase your water intake. It will help brain function, but you'll also notice it helps bodily function in general. It helps thin your blood. It helps basically everything. So make sure that you're in a situation where you're drinking enough water. It is vital to the brain. I don't know if anyone ever remembers Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy. She died of dehydration. It was what the coroner said on the report. That's how she passed away, is not drinking enough water. So who knows, she might still be with us if she was more of a water drinker. Doug, you have a question?
Yeah, just one quick question. When you say drink enough water, can that come in other forms, such as juices, or are you talking strictly water?
No, it really is important that we're talking strictly water. And the reason for that is, like tea and coffee in particular, have things in them that cause you to lose more water than you're taking in with that drink. So say you're drinking 10 ounces of coffee. In order to eliminate the diuretics from the body that you take in when you're drinking coffee, you have to actually get rid of more than 10 ounces. You'll be in a situation where you might get rid of 11 or 12. So drinking coffee is actually counterproductive. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't drink coffee at all by any means. I enjoy coffee and I enjoy tea, but they are not the same as drinking water. They will dehydrate you if that's all that you drink. And that comes with some very serious consequences. It can thicken your blood. One sign of dehydration is muscle cramps as well. If you have muscle cramps on a regular basis, it can come from a number of different things, but being dehydrated is one of those things that can cause that. Another thing to watch is urine color. If your urine is usually quite dark or dark yellow, that is an indication that you may be dehydrated. So you need to make sure that your urine at some points runs clear. Another thing is smell of the urine can be indicative of how concentrated it is as well. If you're in a situation where it has kind of an ammonia smell, that may be another indication that you're dehydrated. Your body's working overtime at using the urine that's going out of your body to get rid of those toxins. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You bet, you bet. Omega-3s, I kind of alluded to this earlier, and I have like an entire class on this subject. But I can't emphasize enough how important omega-3s are for brain function. Omega-3s are a fat, and we talked about how important fats are for the brain. These fats in particular make up the cell membrane. Fatty acids are vital for the maintenance of normal brain function throughout your entire life. Once you reach puberty, the type of fats that you need in your brain actually changes. You may have heard of EPA and DHA. If anybody takes fish oil, they may look on their label and see that. When you're young, when you're before puberty, when your brain is still growing, you need more DHA than EPA, about double. It should be about a 2-to-1 ratio. When you have become an adult, that actually flip-flops and you need more EPA than DHA. So look on your labels, and you want to make sure that you're in a situation where you have, as an adult, you need more EPA than DHA if you're taking fish oil. And I recommend everybody take fish oil. It is that important. There are abundance of cells in the body that are regenerating all the time, and those cells have cell membranes that are being made, and that needs omega-3s to get that job done. In older adults, lower levels of DHA, we talked about that and how that's used for forming new nerve cells in children. The lower levels of DHA in the blood have been associated with smaller brain size and accelerated brain aging. That was just one study that they've done on DHA. Clearly, it's important to make sure that you have enough omega-3 fatty acids to avoid those effects on your brain. I recommend everybody, no matter how healthy you are, take 4,000 milligrams a day of omega-3 fatty acids from a quality source. Quality omega-3s you can get at any good health food store. Natural Grocers has some great ones. I like the Nordic brand in particular, which you can get at Natural Grocers here in Fayetteville. You can go to Whole Foods. Cooks up in Rogers is good. Aikens up in Rogers is good. If they're cheaper, like that you might get at Walmart, that sort of thing, they aren't necessarily better. There's a huge discrepancy in quality when it comes to omega-3 fatty acids, and I don't recommend that you scrimp on price. Make sure you're getting a good one. You know, and that's the great thing about the internet. You can read up on what's in them, you can read reviews and that sort of thing. Another thing that I recommend against is these omega complexes that have omega-3s and omega-6s and omega-9s in them. We get way too many 6s, omega-6 fatty acids in our diets already. Those come from grains and grain-based foods, which are so abundant in the standard American diet that they actually have gotten to the point where they cause significant health problems, including significant inflammation. And inflammation, as we talked about earlier, has been linked to Alzheimer's, been linked to multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, but inflammation of the arteries of your heart will cause heart disease. Inflammation of your pancreas will cause diabetes. Inflammation of your liver can cause cirrhosis. There's just many, many different things that inflammation results in. And one of the biggest drivers of inflammation is not having enough omega-3s in your body. It is practically impossible to get enough from a diet. You just can't do it. You've got to be in a situation where you supplement when it comes to omega-3 fatty acids. Maybe if you lived on the ocean and you ate fish, you know, big chunks of fish, two meals every day, then maybe you'd get enough. But there's just hardly any way to do it. And eating fish that is farm raised is detrimental to your health. It is not good for you at all. And taking like tilapia, almost probably 99% of tilapia in America is farm raised. So you want to really be in a situation where you avoid farm raised fish. It is not a good substitute for omega-3s. And it is so important. If you're having a neurological problem, like you're having chronic pain, I recommend you increase that dose to 7,000 milligrams a day. If you're in a situation where you have, and this is based on research studies, if you have problems that are neurological, that are more severe, like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, then we recommend that you go up to 10,000 milligrams a day, which is a huge amount. It really, really is. But it is very, very good for that kind of problem. When your dose gets that high, you may want to consider getting a liquid form of omega-3s instead of a pill form, because 10,000 milligrams, you may be taking like 10 pills a day, whereas if it's a liquid form, you can just put a little bit in a little shot glass and slug that down all at once pretty quickly. So at that dose, I usually recommend switching over to a liquid, but many of those will have a lemon flavor, and I don't know how they do it, but they take the fish taste out. It doesn't taste like fish. I take a liquid form every day that I take. So vitamin D, oh man, this is another thing that is so vital. The older population is at unusually high risk for vitamin D deficiency due to decreased cutaneous synthesis. In other words, our skin, as we age, doesn't make as much vitamin D as when we're younger. There are a ton of vitamin D receptors in brain tissue as well. It is something that is very, very important in regards to how your brain functions. The more study they do on vitamin D, the more things that they find that it helps. It is an amazing, amazing vitamin. It protects the nervous system. It clears out those amyloid plaques that you may have heard of that are associated with Alzheimer's disease. Vitamin D is just so important for so much. I recommend that you take 5,000 international units every day, and this is based on a Mayo Clinic study that they did. Some people who are having problems take 10,000 IUs per day, international units a day. It is so good for you in so many ways. And many people think of it as a bone density vitamin, and it helps that a bunch. But there's also a lot of other things that does that is very helpful. So being in a situation where you take vitamin D can really help. We have actually one of the leading manufacturers of vitamin D in the United States, right here in Fayetteville. They're called Biotech, and they're such a great company. Their products are actually sold all over the world because of the purity of them. They're used in many different research studies. They're just a great company. They're over near near Sam's Club, kind of kitty corner from the drive-in theater over there. They're a great company, and the owner said he's really a nice guy. And the other thing that I really think is so important about vitamin D is that it is so inexpensive. It's some of the cheapest type of insurance that you can buy for your general health. Diana, oh, I missed what it said. Hold on just a second. There was a chat. She said, I used to get biotech vitamins at my endocrinologist. She retired. Where can I get them locally? We carry biotech here at the office. And then, as I understand it, biotech's also bringing out a line that they're going to be selling to consumers as well. And biotech is a great company that has very good purity. I don't know that the consumer brand that they're going to bring out is going to be called biotech, but I think they're bringing that out later this year. They've been working on that lately here.
I don't know if Dr. Masters even knows this, but if you go on Biotech's website right now, you'll see a video from Dr. Masters. Dr. Masters coordinates with Biotech and does presentations for them all over the United States and here in Northwest Arkansas. But if you go onto their website, you'll see Dr. Masters doing a video very specifically for them for vitamin D. It's showcased on their front page right now.
That was Shannon talking. I appreciate you chiming in, Shannon. I talked about omega-3s. I talked about vitamin D. Those are two things that I recommend everybody take every day. But there's some other vitamins that I recommend everyone take as well. One is a probiotic. Probiotics are very important in regards to gut function, but the more study that they do on gut function, in other words, the digestion, the function of your large and small intestine, the more they're finding that it is very closely associated with brain function as well. So your gut and your brain are very important together. So I recommend everybody take a probiotic. It helps your immune system, and our probiotics have many assaults on them staying alive these days, because many different animals are grown with antibiotics that they grow up with, and if you're eating those types of meats, then you'll oftentimes be in a situation where that decreases your normal probiotics that you have. Another thing that I really recommend on a regular basis is adrenal support. The adrenal gland is the gland that sits back above your kidneys, and it is the primary gland that helps you handle stress. If you're in a situation where you are not handling stress well because your adrenals are in bad shape, your immune system can be affected, your body's ability to produce connective tissue can be affected. It can make a big difference in how your body functions in general. So I really recommend people take that an adrenal support on a regular basis. There's lots of good adrenal supports out there, and if you go to any good health food store again and you tell them, hey, I want something for my adrenal gland, they'll be able to help you out if they have a knowledgeable person there. You might hear some clicking around. We're trying to get our computer down to 20% battery, so we're trying to get a little bit of help here. And then another thing that we call it the additional supplement, and it's not really a supplement, but it acts as one, and that is that you eat good quality food. This can be something that is extremely enjoyable when it comes to, if you're eating right, it can make a big, big difference in regards to how healthy you are in general. Let me see if I can get to the next slide here. Well, hold on a second. Well, I'm having trouble advancing for some reason. I'm almost, oh, there we go. There we go. Good. Hold on, I've overdone. There, sorry. My computer's a little behind schedule here. There we go. 5-hydroxytryptophan is something that you can also get at the health food store that can make a big difference in regards to brain function. 5-hydroxytryptophan, or 5-HTP, is a vitamin that helps your body make serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps you be in a situation where nerves talk to each other and basically tell them, hey, be calm, slow down, it's okay, digest your food properly, take a nap, that sort of thing, be relaxed. 5-hydroxytryptophan is very, very important for normal brain function. We have another vitamin that we use in the office. It's called Total Brain, and it helps support all sorts of different brain functions. It has a bunch of minerals in it, amino acids, and a lot of other things that help improve brain function as well. If you're in a situation where you take these vitamins, it can make a big difference in regards to how your brain works and if it's going to degenerate. I was talking earlier about symptoms and how important it is to pay attention to your symptoms. One of the things that I notice when my brain starts to get a little challenged is I tend to fall asleep very easily when I read. I was noticing that the other day. I was reading and I just dozed off. This is an indication that your brain is being taxed, or it's that activity is hard for it. And I started taking this Total Brain supplement that I was talking about, and I was able to snap right out of that. But that's a symptom that a lot of people have that they might not be paying any attention to. They might say, oh, I often fall asleep when I read. Another one that is I see all the time, especially in younger people. We have a lot of college students as patients, and I occasionally have people who come into me. I see this with women more than men, I think, because they're probably more in touch with their emotion. But and it happens around finals time at the university. Girls will come into me and be like, I can't stop crying. They'll just be weeping, and they're like, I don't have any reason to, and I don't know why. It's just, and I think they're just overly stressed. They're in a situation where their hard drive in their brain is full, just like a hard drive in a computer. Your brain has reached its capacity and it can't handle anymore. And this is an indication that you need to support your brain with things like vitamin D, 5-hydroxytryptophan, omega-3s, and just drink more water, and just help your body be in a situation where it can do more. And that just helps everything. On to the next slide here. We at Arkansas Physical Health and Rehab, we're a multidisciplinary clinic. We have medical care, we have chiropractic, we have acupuncture, we do a lot with nutrition. We do, as I mentioned earlier, things that are kind of more alternative, like pulsed electromagnetic field therapy and ionic cleanse detoxification, which can really help brain function a bunch. If you're in a situation where you notice mental decline and you are in situation where you want to get that looked into, give us a call. We help that sort of thing on a regular basis. Like I said, I just saw somebody yesterday about that. Something else that has been shown to help mental decline, particularly they've done a lot of studies on Parkinson's disease with it, is acupuncture. Acupuncture is something that helps a myriad of different health problems. Another thing that we offer in our office that I haven't really discussed is massage therapy, and that can help many different health problems as well. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have health challenges that you need a little bit of extra help with, let us know, and we'd be happy to help you out. So I really appreciate you allowing me to sit down with you and go over this information, and I hope it was helpful to making sure that everybody who's in attendance is healthy. So thanks very much for listening and your indulgence. If you have any more questions, I'm going to be here to answer those, so I'm happy to take those anytime. Okay, well, super.
Dr. Masters, this has one.
Yes, go ahead.
Dr. Masters, thank you very much for your presentation. It was really informative.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Dr. Masters, this is Doug. I just want to say thank you very much for the session.
Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. I really do.
Sure. Take care.
Do. Well, again, I really appreciate everybody giving me their kind attention, and I hope it was helpful. So I guess we will end the session, and we will see you next month for another class. So thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Masters. We'll get the recordings sent out soon.
Okay, great. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.